Welcome once again to the Sage. Welcome to an amazing discussion which we started last week. We started discussing the issues of young people. And we were privileged to have on set with us last week and this week two amazing young people themselves, knowledgeable about the issues, who warmly and generously shared their knowledge and their experience. We spent a great deal of the time talking about issues. What are the problems that exist? And there were many, both in terms of peer pressure, influencers, easy access to information, inadequate parental care, and so on and so forth. I could go on. This week, we will wind up on issues, but more importantly, we will talk about what can be done. What can we all concretely do towards improving the situation? Again, let me turn to our guests and remind you, Inya, I won't go into the formalities that were done last week.
Inya Ode.
Inya Ode. Okay, you introduce yourself. And you see, I can never say the Oleg. Thank you for having been with us and having the patience to continue.
Yes, thank you.
As we go again into this, it's an absorbing topic, really, that one can spend days and days talking about.
Absolutely.
And so this time, as we finish, if I will still throw it open to both of you and say, if there's still elements of the issues that exist that you think we didn't quite highlight last week, and you want to share, please share. But then let's focus on concretely, what can we do together as a collective community, as a country, to improve the lot of our young people, who, as I passionately said last time, they are our future.
Yeah.
But in fact, let me, again, bear with me when I say, not only are they our future, they are our today.
Absolutely. Our present.
They are present. Yeah. If 80% of us fall into that category, they are present. They are present. Really. They are present. And the very, very success and progress of our country depends on effectively meeting the needs of this huge group.
Yeah.
And so let's start with you, Inya.
Okay, last time, yes, we talked about a lot of things, but I don't think we really hammered on the government's role in ensuring that young people thrive. As we speak, presently, ASU is on strike. You have a huge chunk of children at home, out of school. Now, that is a problem on its own because you're keeping children idle. They're out of school. They're not doing anything. They're open to all sorts of vices, and that is danger.
And they're frustrated. They're not getting their education.
Exactly. That frustrating because, they also see other people, maybe in the private schools, thriving. And then I'm here, I'm not getting this. What exactly is going on? So society, the government has a huge role to play in ensuring that our children, the young people of Nigeria, actually thrive in taking care of the education sector. Another point is infrastructure. When we say, okay, so we need to make the economy viable, we need to have the ease of doing business and all of that. Fine, all those plans and policies are fantastic. But how do you ease the business of somebody, of a barber? A young person who is a barber and has refused to go into drugs, he has refused to go into crime, he has refused to go into all those vices, but he doesn't have fuel. He doesn't have power to barb. He doesn't have those basic things. He can't even have a little shed to put his stuff because it's going to be demolished anyway. So what does he have? Really?
Absolutely.
What hope does he have? So the policies and plans, yes, we have a national youth policy, but then how far-reaching is that? How far-reaching and how many people can actually benefit and gain from this policy?
How is it being
implemented? That's another question. Because it's so good to have them on paper. Fantastic. We have it all on paper. But then the implementation is key. And when you have a huge population, as we said last week, of young people who are doing their best every single day not to go into crime, not to do the wrong thing, we're encouraging them to do right. When we have that population just, whiling away and lazing about, what exactly
And suffering from the heat.
what exactly are we putting out there for them? So government has such a huge role
Very important
to play
role.
to
Very
ensure
much.
that education works. If education works, we'll churn out a lot of employable young people. We'll churn out people with different skills who can go into the employment sector prepared. Now, that employment sector, is it open to everyone, or are we handpicking and choosing the sons and daughters, or the nephews and nieces of the big boys to give them employment? What are we doing for those young people to open up the space to ensure that people are employed? Government has a big role to play, a huge role in ensuring that those policies for young people are actually implemented, and that we have the ease of doing business, not just for the big businesses, because right now the big businesses are suffering anyway, but for the woman on the street who wants to, all she needs is a small space, to put her hair dryer, put her things to, to wash hair, do this and do that, have water provided for her, just to open her salon and earn. If we're not doing that for young people, then we'll keep going around a vicious cycle.
It's such an important point. And let me say something, because this is what we do every day in C4C actually. Let me actually tell you that the economy of a country doesn't depend on the big business.
Of course, yes.
It depends on the SMEs.
Sector.
Yes.
SMEs.
Yeah.
SMEs.
Yeah.
And they are the ones most hit by this issue of lack of infrastructure.
Exactly.
The big businesses will buy huge diesel generators
Right.
and be powering their business.
Right.
The small businesses,
they're suffering right now.
they're suffering.
There's
They're
no
closing.
power.
They're going
There's
bankrupt.
no light. There's
so
no water.
absolutely, to the very survival of our economy, government must play its role.
Yes.
Must put the necessary policies and infrastructure in place.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
We'll come back to
Sure.
you. Ifenla?
There's lots.
Yeah, so when talking about the government, yes, I think we also need to talk about those who are benefiting from these government policies. And majority of them are politicians. I mean, we just have to eat the nail.
That's calling a spade a spade.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's your
It's
territory.
that simple. I mean, it's just that simple.
Yeah.
So politicians need to be called out at this point. I think somewhere in Lagos State last week, there was an event that held, and a woman that was giving out, for. Now, when you look at the real dynamics or the roots of it, there is something connected to politics in it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. And until our people start electing responsible, and in Nigerian language, because our people understand our language, politicians who have sense, until we start electing them, things will not get changed. There's what I like to call political currency. We spend naira here in Nigeria. I mean, other countries spend dollars, pounds, and what have you. But political literacy or political currency, it's something that is very, very lacking in the country. Yes, when it's time for elections, we know that people start sharing rice, gari, and people will come out and say, I'll collect my own. After this one, all of them have waka. But then that's, orientation of how long do we continue this way, electing people, and we know we are electing the wrong people, and yes, we are so confident in saying yes, we'll continue to elect them. So it's a circle that continues and continues, because politics, as funny as it is, as funny as the fact that politics becomes the breaking news every 4 years because it's political season, as funny as it is, what we don't realize is that political actions or inactions have a direct representation of what happens in the society. Why? Because we elect officers through politics, through political actions.
Absolutely.
And when they are elected, they become leaders, they become governors, senators, House of Representative members, State House of Assembly members, the president, and they come up with policies that affect us.
Yeah.
So the full problem is a political action. The ASU issue with the federal government is a political action. And so we can go on and on. Insecurity. Now, talking about insecurity. In the north, we know the Almajiri. The Almajiri from the 20, 30, 40 years, history, little history. The Almajiris are children whom their parents allow to go, learn certain Islamic, things from malams, from clerics, from sheikhs, and what have you. That was the essence. But now we have an Almajiri cabal, or Almajiri cartel, in which these children are being used for several vices, from armed robbery to, Boko Haram, to, the insecurity issue we have in the country right now. People are benefiting from it. So we can't talk about the government without talking about politics and people who are benefiting from the problems we have right now in the country. As diesel is a problem, there are politicians who are benefiting from this. There are government officers who are benefiting from it. As ASU is on strike, and by the time ASU decides to negotiate with the government, there are people that will still benefit from it. Yeah. So it still comes down to the political currency. And it's as simple as elect people who have sense. It's that simple. Yeah. But then are we going to do that?
Let me hold it, because I'm going to come back to you, but I wanted to stress a point you just made. That is the reason why these shows are going on at this point in time in the history of Nigeria. That is the essence of our call of action, which has been airing for the past few weeks. What we are saying is, let us, if it is for the very first time ever in this country, do our best to elect the right leaders. Yeah. A great deal depends on leadership. Yes. Like you said, a great deal that is controlled in this country is by the political elite.
Exactly.
Let us not accept that anymore. That is the call of action we put out. Let us work together, recognizing we are sure that as we discuss the various other sectors, this is about young people. But when we get to education, health, politics, everything, it will come down to the issue of the fact that until we can change the people we put there in power, we will not be able to effectively change our country.
Is that simple?
So thank you for re-echoing our call of action.
Thank you, ma'am. And then, so that's about the government, politicians, and what have you. Influencers in the country also have a major role to play. I know some people like Funke Akindele, for instance. She has paid her dues. So if you see her dancing, wearing designers, of course, I can't get intimidated by people who are up there, because, I've groomed myself intellectually. But people who see her now see, oh, this woman is rich, do give away and what have you. But they are not seeing the fact that this is a woman that's paid her dues, that's suffered and, gone through a whole lot of rejections before she got to where she is. But our youth, so we are talking about the solutions, right? But then trying to play the devil's advocate here, our social influencers also have a whole lot of things to do. Funke Akindele is not on that table because she has paid her dues and she's trying to bring, upcoming artists and what have you, and trying to encourage people. But there are some influencers that are not helping matters at all. Why? Because they know how they get their money. They get their money through lots of vices, drug peddling and what have you, sleeping around. We don't want to have that conversation now, and several vices. But they won't come out to say, this is how I got my money. Rather, they go all hard work pays, and they go all big girl, small God, or small girl, big God, and several things. And so we ladies idolize people like this, and we see them as, or ladies see these ladies as their role models. Now, I'm not saying that social influencers should not live their lives, but they should live their lives with a full consciousness of people are watching me. And I also believe that as soon as you put yourself out there as a public figure, then there's a sense of responsibility that is expected of you. Of course, you can't expect people who watch you, and of course, you can always say, oh, I didn't tell them to go steal, I didn't tell them to go do this, but indirectly, what you're doing is actually either tormenting them. Again, like I said, social media, it accelerates vices in the society. So somebody who already has lots of pressure, family pressure, broken family pressure, peer pressure, pressure, and all the pressures in this life, and such a person sees, a celebrity who is spraying money, what do we expect from such a person? So it's a circle that keeps going on, and everybody has a role to play. We've talked about the government, we've talked about parents, we've talked about even the youth themselves, but even the social influencers, they are not helping. And I believe that doing 2K giveaway is good. It helps them to build their traffic. It helps them with traction and what have you. But there are lots of empowerment things that they can't do. There are some influencers I really respect because they hold on to family values. They try to influence. They are not just influencing socially, but they ensure they impact and empower youths. That's what we want. We know they've paid their dues. We know that they've passed through life and what have you, but they need to start living their lives deliberately. Because at 12 years old, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, under 18, and between 18 and 20, 22 are looking at them. They want to be like them, but they are not thinking straight as to this person actually lived right or got their money the right way. But they want the money. That is it. And they will do anything they want to do to get the money. So I believe everybody has a role to play. And until we start realizing that it's all about being intentional and being strategic, we keep on having, this problem over and over again.
Yeah. That's a very important point. The fact that influencers, to a grandmother like me, when you say influencers, my first thought was, I don't even listen to them or hear them. I'm going to, after this talk, go and research and see who she's talking about. But I do take the point that while for me, the person doesn't come into my orbit of existence.
Right.
For the young person, it's all consuming.
Yes.
That's all he sees.
Yes.
And so that's a very important point. Yeah. I guess that's where they get their name from.
Exactly.
Influencers, because they have so many following them.
Yes.
Not oldies like me, but those people that we're talking about.
Exactly.
So another thing, I remember when I was in school and we hear that Fela Jotoye is coming to the campus. We all get excited. Well, I was always a school, church, fellowship, well, not library, back to class, committees, meetings, because I was in a drama unit. So that was my circle then. So, but if I heard that the likes of hip-hop artists were coming, I wasn't really that kind of person. But then I know every social influencer has their own role to play. But I think that this is where, as much as everybody have their own responsibilities, but we youth also should start looking at what exactly we want in our lives and what our purpose is. Because when you see a youth, from the dressing, what they are saying, you can say who their influencers are. If you ask an average 18 years old or 25 years, okay, maybe 18 is still young, we can pardon them. If you ask an average 22 or 25 years old female who just graduated from school, do you know Ibukwa Oshika? She might go all, is she a Nigerian? She doesn't know. Do you know Mohabudu? I mean, Mohabudu has gone, she's she's not just a Nigerian, entrepreneur, she's a global citizen. People might know her, but they still go, okay, who is she? So I know these people because these are people in my radar. It doesn't mean I don't know other social influencers, but these are people that I know they've built their landmark in the sand of time that cannot be, taken away by the winds or by the sea or whatever. But these are people that already have done their works. So are the youths...
Let me get into it and say that what to me is calling out from what you're saying as a call of action, really, as we talk about the way forward, is really that perhaps those of us who are now coming together saying we must create a change, we want something to be different, maybe the task of mobilizing these influencers for more positive roles.
That's just it.
True.
Yeah.
So that they use that very influence and the potential it has for accelerated effect for good.
Yes.
Sometimes they may not think of it. They're busy people doing their own thing. But it is now for us, for those of us, to reach out to them and organize them into a group advocacy and that reaches out to young people to advocate and influence positively. So that's a great thought to move forward as we summarize this talk in the future. And perhaps we can move on. So influencers, government,
Yeah.
we've talked about politicians.
Yeah, politicians.
Any other?
I think just harping a bit more on what Ifenla has said about influencers, and it's so important. It's one of the things we do at the network and advocacy group to ensure, look out for the influencers who we believe are sharing positive messages and who can actually share those positive messages to, change people's hearts and minds. Also looking at the music and the movie industry.
Absolutely.
It's important because this is what the children are exposed to.
True.
The music videos, the movies, what is happening in that sector. I know, yes, the regulatory bodies, the Film and Video Censors Board and, the National Broadcasting Commission are all there. The National Orientation Agency are all there to ensure that, there is sanity in the airwaves. But what about the actors and the actresses and the musicians themselves?
And
what
the things they portray in their
Absolutely.
shows.
So
exactly.
what are the messages you're putting out there? Because believe it or not, people see these things. Young people see it and like, okay, so this is the way to get rich now. This is what I need to do. Like, we need to go into rituals. I need to see, some babalawo or dibia somewhere, and I'll get rich quick. And they actually act on it. They
believing
do.
that it's
Believing that
real.
it's the way to go. They never get to the point at the end of the movie where there is a consequence for that bad action, right? Because they blank that one out and say, no, this one is the way to get rich. So the movie industry, the music industry is a way to sanitize, right, these things that we're talking about and pass on the right messages. Because young people actually listen to a lot of music and they watch the movies as well. So it's a very important point. Another point I would like to highlight is, the role of, I cannot overemphasize the role of parents in this and the role of adults generally. In being mentors. And that's why what you do at C4C is so amazing. It's so important that young people actually have mentors they can look up to say, yes, okay, so this person can be a guide for me. This person can be, one I can ape and all of that. But mentorship is missing, is a real missing link between the older and the younger generation. And trust me, the Gen Z need mentors. They need mentors like never before. So having mentors and encouraging the older generation to mentor more young people. I mean, if we had maybe 10, 20, 50 organizations doing what you're doing all around the country, if we had a lot of organizations doing what Luxtera is doing across the country, what do you think we'll get? Mentoring is so important, especially in this age where the influences, are all over the place. And that reinforced message, coming from mentors to say, no, now, this is what you're supposed to do. It helps a great deal to guide the young person and ensure that young person is put right. And, yes, we've mentioned education, we've mentioned what government can do. But the role of mentors also is to, as Ifenla mentioned something about purpose. And that is something young people need to know. And we need to reinforce that message. Why am I here? What is my purpose on this earth? What exactly am I here to do? Am I just here to, loaf around and just move around from one place to the other? Or is there something more that I should do? Now, this is where a mentor comes in to teach and to guide and to let that young child know that you have a purpose, or you have a role to play. It's not, you're not just here to, do whatever it is you want to do. There is something, inside of you. I'm a Catholic, and in the readings and the reflection I read today, it talked about the potentials God has deposited inside of us. Every single person. There are potentials that He has deposited in us. And if we don't live out those potentials, we could die frustrated. If we don't find and discover those potentials, we could die frustrated. So it's for mentors and young people to still realize that they can be much more than they are right now. So we need more mentors. We need more guides. We need parents who are mentors, to their children, to ensure that they actually live out the right path.
Can I reinforce that and say that, because I think it's so important. In previous episodes, I had talked about the fact that every person created is a beautiful gift from God.
Absolutely.
Every person on this earth is here for a purpose.
Yeah.
Nobody created and born into the world came in empty-handed. You have talents that are yours and yours alone. You know, there are no two of you, you know. And I personally feel that the purpose of this earthly journey is that you discover those talents, those potentials, and use them. I shocked some people, I'm sure, when I said in the previous episode that I am convinced that the day you die and you meet your creator, he may not necessarily be asking you how many good deeds you did. He will be asking you, what did you do with those gifts I gave you?
Exactly.
That it is, in fact, your account of your earthly existence is what have I done with the talents I was given. And those talents are those gifts and potentials, your creativity, your passion, whether it's in cooking or sweeping the gutter, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. That is the reason for existence. So I do agree with you. Each young person needs a mentor as much as possible. Who takes him or her by the hand, helps you discover your purpose and helps you along the journey of living it.
Yes, because therein you'd find meaning, you know, and live out a life of purpose and meaning, like we always talk about. It's important because if you do that, and purpose is not just about yourself. That's one thing people need to know. It's about another person. It's about service. Thank you so much. It's about service and making positive impact on the lives of other people, not necessarily for your own good, you know. And when one
but
lives
that is the beauty of it. When you do it, it comes back to you.
Absolutely. And when you live that life, you get joy. You will not be frustrated. No matter what the circumstances are, you will not be frustrated, but you'll still keep going on because you know you're living a life of purpose.
So from my end, I think the mentorship thing. So I see it as a circle. So the mentors need to mentor the youth, but I also believe that the youth should also make themselves available
for mentoring. Right.
Because in identifying several mentors, you know, role models out there, you can come up with a beautiful, amazing project, an idea. And the truth of the matter is, the sponsors of Big Brother Nigeria, for instance, it wasn't just in Nigeria. I think it was Big Brother Africa. And then someone, I don't know who, just decided, you know what, let's bring this to Nigeria.